Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some seriously creepy stuff today. Uh, 3 unsolved disappearances that'll make you think twice about locking your doors.
Oh yeah, these cases are the kind that stick with you long after you hear about them. Full of twists and turns and dead ends. Enough to make even the most seasoned investigators scratch their head.
You got that right. They remind us that sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction, and that sometimes the simplest explanations are the ones that are hardest to accept.
Absolutely. So are you ready to get started?
I'm ready to get spook. Hit me with the first case.
Okay, let's start with Kathy Marie Moulton, 1971. This case really throws a wrench in the idea of a typical missing persons report.
Okay, so give us the rundown. What happened?
Imagine Portland, Maine, right? Crisp autumn evening, 16-year-old Kathy's getting ready for a dance. She pops into a music store to see a friend, tells him she'll walk home afterward. Seems like a normal night, you know. But then she just vanishes.
Wait, so no one saw anything?
Not exactly. There are some sightings of Kathy with 2 young guys, Lester Everett and Ronald Reed Purley. And get this, they're driving a stolen Cadillac. This kicks off a massive search, crossing state lines and even going into Canada.
Hold up, a stolen Cadillac? Was she involved in the theft?
That's the big question. Was she a willing participant, or was there something darker going on? Lester eventually shows up alone, claims he dropped Kathy off at a camp, but Ronald's family says nope, Lester actually left her at their place on a Canadian reserve. So we got 2 very different stories right from the get-go.
Okay, so conflicting accounts already. That's definitely going to complicate things. How do you even begin to figure out what really happened?
Right, and it gets even more tangled. A guy working at a garage remembers seeing the 3 of them buying new tires for the Cadillac. He said Ronald seemed to be, like, controlling Kathy's every move. It's a pretty disturbing picture, to say the least.
So Ronald becomes a suspect. What happens with him?
He becomes suspect number 1, but refuses to talk to the cops, even when they offer him immunity. Later on, a hunter claims to have found a skeleton near Smyrna, Maine, surrounded by women's clothing, but he can't remember how to get back to the spot. It could be Kathy, but we may never know for sure.
Man, that's just heartbreaking. It really shows how a missing persons case can turn into this giant puzzle with missing pieces.
You said it. And it makes you realize how much we rely on memory, right?
Right.
And how easily it can be distorted. I mean, how can we be sure what people think they saw is actually accurate, especially in situations that are chaotic and confusing?
That's a good point. So anyone listening, think about that for a second. When you hear something new, do you just accept it as fact? Or do you think about the source, the context, maybe even some hidden biases? It's a super important skill to have in today's world.
Totally. It's easy to just go with a story that fits our own beliefs. But Kathy's case is a reminder that there might be other explanations out there. We shouldn't jump to conclusions based on just a little bit of info, especially if it could be unreliable.
It's like that saying, there's 2 sides to every story. It's a good reminder for sure. All right, ready for the next case? This one takes us to Texas in the summer of '48. 21-year-old Mary Virginia Carpenter vanishes from the Texas Woman's University campus in Denton. It's like something out of a movie.
Oh, this one is a real head scratcher. It's almost like a ghost story, you know?
Yeah.
We get these little glimpses into her last few hours, but then the trail just goes cold.
Okay, so let's hear it. What do we know about Mary's last movements?
So picture this. It's late, around 9:30 p.m. Mary arrives in Denton by train from Texarkana. She hops in a taxi to go to her dorm, Brackenridge Hall. She even gives the driver a ticket for her trunk to pick up the next day from the station. Everything seems totally normal.
Sounds pretty routine so far. What's the catch?
Here's the thing, she never actually checks into her dorm. And the trunk. Never claimed. It's like she stepped out of that taxi and disappeared into thin air.
Okay, now that's officially creepy. What were the initial theories about what happened to her?
Well, at first, some of Mary's old boyfriends thought maybe she ran off with a secret lover. They said she was the kind of person who fell in love hard and fast. But her family, they completely shut that down. They insisted she was super close with them and would never just disappear without a word.
So, no runaway love story. What else were investigators looking at?
Suspicion fell on the taxi driver, Edgar Ray Zachary. Turns out he had a criminal record. Petty stuff, but still. And he had a reputation for, well, let's just say he wasn't exactly known for being a nice guy. And here's the kicker. Years later, his wife comes forward and admits she lied about his alibi that night. He didn't come home until super late.
A shady alibi, huh?
Yeah.
Classic. Did they ever actually find any proof connecting him to Mary's disappearance?
Sadly, no. Edgar definitely became a person of interest, someone they thought might have info about the case. But suspicion alone isn't enough to make an arrest. You need hard evidence, and that's what's missing in this case.
It's like having a puzzle with half the pieces missing, right? You can kind of see what it's supposed to be,
It-
but you can never get the full picture.
Exactly. And speaking of missing pieces, there's this really eerie coincidence in Mary's case. Her disappearance happens right around the same time as the Texarkana Phantom killings.
Wait, as in the serial killer, the one they never caught.
The one and only. And get this, Mary knew 3 of the Phantom's victims.
Whoa, hold on. Are they suggesting the taxi driver was the Texarkana Phantom?
It's not that simple, but yeah, it definitely made people wonder if there was a connection. Could the Phantom have taken Mary? Or worse?
That's a terrifying thought. Did they ever find anything to link them?
Despite a ton of investigating, no direct evidence ever came up to connect Mary's disappearance and the Phantom. It's tempting to see connections, especially in high-profile cases like this, but sometimes a coincidence is just a coincidence. We gotta be careful about jumping to conclusions.
So the Phantom connection is probably a dead end. Were there any other leads in Mary's case?
So, flash forward to 1998, a full 50 years after Mary vanished. A tip comes in saying she was raped and killed not long after she disappeared. The tipster claimed her body was buried in a dam near the university campus.
50 years later. Wow. That's a long time for someone to hold on to that information. Did they ever find out if it was true?
Sadly, it turned out to be a false lead. The suspects named in the tip were already dead, but the police went all out investigating that dam. They found absolutely nothing.
That's just awful. To think her family got their hopes up only to be let down again. It really shows the emotional toll these cases take on the families left behind. The not knowing must be incredibly difficult.
You can only imagine. But even with these heartbreaking twists and turns, the search for answers continues.
It's that never give up hope that's so inspiring. Speaking of hope, our last case today takes us to the Pacific Northwest. Another young person gone missing. Another family searching for answers.
This one is a little different, though. It really highlights how these mysteries affect everyone involved, not just the missing person. It ripples outward, impacting loved ones who are left grappling with all the uncertainty.
Okay, let's hear it. Who is Alvin Matlock?
Alvin Matlock, he was an Army vet, 21 years old, living in this kind of remote cabin up on Browns Mountain in Spokane, Washington. It was back in '51. Thanksgiving was coming up. His family's all set for him to come to dinner, but Alvin, he's a no-show.
Oh, so that's a big red flag right there, missing a big family get-together. What does family do?
His mom, naturally, she's worried sick, drives all the way up to his cabin, and it's empty. Both his cars are gone, too. No note, no sign of a struggle, just nothing.
Yeah, that kind of silence, it's deafening, isn't it?
If it
Did anyone think maybe he just took off, wanted to change the scenery?
There was this rumor going around that Alvin had packed up and moved to Alaska. A fresh start, new life, that sort of thing. A neighbor even said they saw him getting ready to leave. So for a while, there was that little bit of hope, Maybe he just wanted a clean slate up in the Alaskan wilderness.
Alaska, yeah, it has that appeal, right? A place to escape, to start over. Did that lead go anywhere?
Sadly, it turned out to be a dead end. Alvin's brother, Clyde, and his wife, Patricia, they were determined to find out what happened. They chased down every lead, every little whisper, and they found out there's no record of Alvin ever being in Alaska. So that hope, it kind of fizzled out.
So if not Alaska, then what? Any other theories about why he disappeared?
Well, those whispers, they turned into rumors about an affair. Some folks thought Alvin was involved with a married woman, and maybe things got a little messy. Maybe her husband found out, and there was a confrontation, a fight, who knows?
Oh, a love triangle gone wrong, huh?
Mm.
That definitely adds another layer of mystery to it all.
It does, but it's
Yeah.
important to remember, those were just rumors. Nothing concrete, no evidence to back them up. It's a reminder that in cases like these, gossip can spread like wildfire, and sometimes it clouds the truth more than it reveals it.
That's true. So no Alaska, no confirmed affair. What happened next? Did Alvin's family ever stop looking for him?
Clyde and Patricia, they never gave up. Back in 2016, they took part in this missing persons event. It was organized by the Spokane County Medical Examiner's Office. They brought photos of Alvin and gave DNA samples, just holding on to that sliver of hope that maybe someday his remains would be identified and they could bring him home.
It's incredible how much love and dedication they had. Decades later, still searching for answers. That's truly remarkable.
It is, and unfortunately, Alvin's case, it's still unsolved. We're left with those same questions. Did he just want a new life? Was he the victim of foul play? Or did something else happen to him entirely? We may never know.
3 very different missing person cases, each with its own set of clues and dead ends. What gets me is that through all the twists and turns, there's this common thread: the relentless pursuit of truth and the enduring power of hope, even when faced with unimaginable loss.
You hit the nail on the head. These cases, with their missing pieces and unanswered questions, they show us that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones left untold. They make us think critically, to question what we believe, and to remember there's always more to discover, always another layer to peel back.
And to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, not just about these cases, but about the world around you. We're bombarded with information, stories waiting to be told, mysteries begging to be solved. Are you paying attention? Are you asking the right questions? Because sometimes the most crucial clues are right there in front of us,